Hey, it is time for the crafting stream. It's once again going to be a short one because I seem to be having a little bit of crafting ADHD at the moment. Um, I was going to do one thing, and then I discovered I don't have the right hook to do that. Okay, well then. So I was going to do another thing, then I remembered, oh yeah, I don't have safety eyes for that. So, okay, now I'm looking for a pattern to use for crochet. And then I'm going to have to get up and go and get the yarn, because the yarn's over there, because I brought the stuff for one thing, but oh right, I don't have the stuff I need to do that, so yeah, today's just been kind of crazy. For one, we're trying to sell our old vehicle, the old vehicle we finally found buyers for it. Go figure, I raised the price and now I have buyers. Huh. But the big thing is, I'm trying right now to find patterns for what I want to work on. The project that I've been working on, everything's kind of okay, this... Hello. Thank you so much for that follow, KL Shine. I can, by the way, see the chat if anyone posts. It might just take me a few because I'm looking at patterns. Okay. So, how involved is this one? Give me just a moment. Ultimately, I'd like to find a pattern that I can do start to finish with you guys on the line so that you guys can see everything. That's going to take too long. I think most of these are going to take too long to do in one stream, which is sad. I was hoping. Okay. Alright, so none of those then. Let me pop over to... I use a site called Ravelry. It's a fairly common site for yarn crafters, and it's got a great pattern database, and so that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm heading to the patterns I have saved to see if any of those would be useful. Pretty much all of these I have a tag on them that says whether or not they're available to sell with credit. Not the pattern, obviously. I don't want to sell someone else's pattern. That's not correct, but see, that one's super bulky. That one's... That's kind of my rule, though, is I need to make certain that anything I make, I'm able to sell with credit, because I don't want to make something and then not be able to find a new home for it, because I don't have room for all of the plushies in my house if I keep making them and never actually sell them. Do I have that pattern? I don't think I have it on this, but this one might be the answer. Let's see. Why is it so small? 3.25 hook. I've got close to that hook. I think I've got a 3.5, which is fine. I can do that. Tiny. Expected to take about 3.5 hours. Okay, that's going to be too much time. How many rows is it? It's 21 rows for the head and body. The tail is 7. The arms are 4. Ridiculously tiny arms. Back legs are 5. I don't think this is going to take 3 hours to make. I don't think I have enough time to make it right now, though. But That's a good possibility for the future. Okay. Watch. I'm not going to get any crafting done today. I'm just going to be looking at patterns and muttering to myself. Okay. Just need a pattern for tonight, please. So many of these are so cute and so tiny, and I'm like, no, I don't have the stuff to do this with right now, or I don't have the time, or... Let me take a look at this one. This one's actually a necklace. How do you make it? Don't get me wrong, I love making things, but I also want to make certain it's something that I have the time to make. It's... So it's just making a bunch of, like, links, chain links that are roughly 4 or 5. Okay. Yeah, it's just 4 rows of links and then binding them together with a slip stitch. That's doable enough. Okay. So, still don't think that is something that I can do today in the time that I'm going to be streaming. So, instead of crochet, this is annoying. I really did want to crochet tonight for the stream, but everything I want to do, it's like, nope, can't do that because X. Ooh. Okay. I thought that I could take all of this stuff and turn it into a plushie in front of you guys, because all it needs is to be sewn together. But I can't even do that because I don't have safety eyes for it. So, we're going to do something that is not crochet, but is still cute, I promise. Oh. Okay. Coloring book. A big part of why I don't have time tonight to do much stuff is the fact that we've been doing a lot of cleaning around the house, and we promised the kids that if they helped with the cleaning, they would get ice cream. And heaven forbid I deny them ice cream. I wouldn't want to deny them ice cream. They did a good job with the cleaning. I've got to get my new camera set up so that I can have a separate camera so you guys can actually see what crafts I'm doing instead of just watching me talk. So this is the Sloths Love Llamas Coloring and Activity Book from Crayola. I picked it up because I had just gotten my COVID booster and I spotted it in the store and I went, I deserve something cute because I did my civic duty. Which, yes, you do. You do your civic duty, you get something cute or something tasty or... Let's see, I'm looking for something... nice and simple in here. Of course none of them are nice and simple. Okay, here we go. This one. Llama with a sloth sock puppet. So, let's go ahead and we're going to make our... And I'm going to just use the 4 colors that were provided with the coloring book, which are blue, red, green, and pink. So, first things first, I'm going to color our sloth puppet. And he is a sloth, so normally sloths in real life are brown or gray, but this one's going to be blue, because why not? It'll be a blue sloth puppet with a green face and either red or pink eyes and nose. And we're mostly gonna chat and talk, and I will hold up the picture periodically to show you guys what I've done so far. Which will probably be after I finish one particular color in one particular spot. I will then hold it up, show you guys what I've done, and then do the next one. Because that seems like a good way to do it. But yeah, things are moving at a surprisingly fast pace for us right now. We are now getting our house ready for us to move. We've not found the new house yet, but we have gotten our pre-approval to do so, which is great. Oh, thank you. But I'm working right now on getting us ready for the move, which meant we have been starting to clean and pack away things that we're not going to be using in the near future. I've got a bunch of bags of winter clothes that we have not really been using, so I need to go through those and see, hey, what of these can we reasonably expect to use again? I am mostly Oklahoma born and bred. I was born here, raised here. But I spent some time in the Philippines because my family was military. And I don't really have the standard Oklahoma accent because my mother, having spent time in England on a military base, picked up a lot of the English pronunciations and affectations and just sort of passed them on to me. There's our... it washes out the colors. I've got to figure out what's going on that's washing these out. Now, I still use some terms that are very Oklahoman. I will say y'all frequently. I will every now and then drop my G's. When I was a kid, any time that I was doing that, Mom would say, "You sound like you're from an Edgar Guest poem," which, of course, meant that I would have to break out the book of 100 World's Greatest Poems and find the Edgar Guest poem, which, by the way, is the poem "It Takes a Heap of Living in a House to Make It Home." And then she and I would read that poem to each other, because that's the kind of thing my mom and I did when I was a kid, was we read poetry to each other a lot, because we both enjoyed it, and I still enjoy poetry. I just haven't... I write it every now and then, but not that often. I used to write it a lot more. Right now I'm mostly doing short story writing. Well, mostly what I'm doing is writing notes for my job, since I'm in training there right now, but that'll be changing soon. Only got a few more weeks of training left. But yeah, my mom and I used to... she had this book. It was this dog-eared, battered, really well-loved and used book that was 100 Greatest Poems. And she and I would sit and take turns reading the poems to one another, our favorites. My favorite every time was The Highwayman, and so I would read that one, and then she really loved The Gingham Dog and the Calico Cat, and so she would read that one, and then we would just trade off on different poems we enjoyed. We both really love Rudyard Kipling's poetry, so The Female of the Species was one that I read many, many times as a kid. Um, and it was just what we did. We lived out on a farm, and, this was before we ever had cable, so it wasn't like there was much to watch on the TV. We'd watch Jeopardy when I got home from school because Mom and I both liked it. And my dad and my brother, they had their own things. My brother was on various sports teams, and my dad was working, so I'd come home, and Mom and I'd watch Jeopardy, and then I'd get my homework done, and if I had any. Normally I got it all done before I even came home. But then we'd do things like we'd go out and work in the garden together, and then if we had time after and there wasn't anything else that needed doing, we'd sit and read to each other. Things like that. She tried to teach me to crochet. I do crochet now, but at the time I was not interested because it was girls' stuff. It took growing up for me to realize that there's no such thing as girls' stuff and boys' stuff. It's all stuff. And anyone can do anything. Like, you occasionally see a flowchart. Is this a boy's toy or a girl's toy? And they basically say it follows with, is this a toy that requires genitals to operate? If the answer is no, then congratulations, it's a toy for anyone. If the answer is yes, this is not appropriate for children, and find a different toy for them. So that's kind of my stance on it, is people can love what they love. And I like crocheting, and I like coloring books, and I like comic books, and growing plants, and I've got a Venus flytrap that is growing on my desk, and it is about ready to bloom, which thrills me, because the roses certainly never want to bloom, and I've got roses on my desk too. But they don't want to bloom. They're just like, nah, we're just happy to produce more leaves. The begonia keeps getting taller, and I keep telling it, no, it can't do that. I've only got so much room on my desk. The African violets keep putting out new leaves, and I keep telling them, no, you can't do that either. I've only got so much room on my desk. But yeah, today's mostly been a day of cleaning and getting stuff ready. We did look into... We're trying to make the house a bit more livable for what little time we're still here. And for a while, things have been kind of tense among the house. Oh, thank you so much, HugMonster501. But things have been kind of tense around the house because we've got 3 adults and 2 kids living in a 2-bedroom house during a pandemic. And for a while, the kids were doing their schooling at home. 2 of the 3 adults were working at home. And so nobody was getting much privacy, and nobody was getting much time to themselves. And it's been kind of a frustration point for a lot of us. So we're trying to make it so that for right now, until we do get into a new place, which is going to be bigger because we need it, we're trying to make certain that nobody's stepping on anyone's toes, and people have the ability to get some privacy if they need it. And so but part of the problem with that is one particular room is where the cats spend 2 of the 3 cats spend most of their time. One of the cats is not allowed down there because that cat doesn't think other cats should exist and likes to try to pick fights, even though she's not as big and tough as the one she picks fights with the most. The one she picks fights with the most wipes the floor with her every time, and then we have to take her to the vet to get an abscess dealt with, because she's very, very bad at fighting, but she's very good at picking fights. It's kind of like that little short guy that goes to the bar and picks a fight with the biggest guy he can find. That's a lady. Figaro's the biggest guy she can find, because Figaro is about 12 pounds of muscle. And she's not fat at all. Lady's about 8 pounds of floof and fat, and not many brains. She also tries to beat up the 6-pound, 19-year-old geriatric cat that wants nothing more to do than sleep, cuddle, and eat SpaghettiOs. So, that's not allowed. I do. I have 2 kids. My partner and I have twin boys, and they are 14, and they're very good kids. And so we're really looking forward to having them have a way where they can have maybe a bit more room instead of just having a small room that they're cramped in and can't do much outside their room. Like, I work in our dining room, which is attached to our kitchen, or our living room, which means they really can't, they can't use the living room when I'm working. And my partner works in our bedroom, which has one of the other entertainment areas, because it's got the, some of the video game machines. I don't even know what all video game machines we have. I play things that I can play on the computer. That's about it. I don't do the PS whatevers, or the Switch, or the Wii's, or... I play computer games. I mostly play MMOs. You might every now and then see me streaming. It's generally late at night because that's my preferred hours. But late at night on Thursdays, I do my gaming stream, and I tend to... well, I am transgender. I make that very clear. Yes, they were mine by birth, but they have known me as their dad from the time they could talk, and so they've never known anything different, and it's never really been an issue in our family. It's an issue with my parents, but that's because my parents are in a religious cult and aren't very good at change. Let's put it that way. But yes, the boys are my partner and I's biological children, so... But, okay. Alright. So, while we've been chatting, I've been making progress on this. I'll show you guys it here in just a few. Okay. Let's see. My partner and I have been married for 19 years. We'll be married 20 this year. I was open about being trans with my partner before we even got married. My partner was with me when I went to the doctor that actually confirmed what I'd known my whole life and was like, you have a male brain. So it's never been a surprise or shock for my partner. The only real thing was we never knew that we would be financially able to get me on any of the medications I needed. But we eventually were able to get me on testosterone back in 2014. And last year I was finally able to get my top surgery. So we've had a long road, but it's been a good one, and I'm glad that we are at the point we're at now. So. Alright. Apparently this llama is going to be pink. I don't know why I decided the pink llama should be pink, but it's going to be. But yeah, my other half has known, as long as we've been together, that I was a guy. We just never thought we could do anything with it, and so we were trying to do the best that we could, get by as far as we could, and then when the opportunity finally did present itself, we were able to start getting some of the things done that needed to be done for my physical and mental health. Yes. Here in America, based on what you said, I assume that you're from outside the U.S. Here in America, you do have to pay quite a bit for physical health care, and we, up until 2 years ago, did not have insurance, which meant that everything would have had to have been out of pocket. The testosterone, we got very lucky and were able to afford the appointments for that out of pocket, but we definitely could not afford the appointments for top surgery or the surgery itself out of pocket. 2020, we got really good insurance through my partner's work, and I started working towards actually getting my top surgery finally, only to have some setbacks that prevented me from actually getting it in 2020. 2021, I changed the surgeon I was trying to get it with, because the surgeon I'd originally been using wanted me to meet a particular unhealthy body standard known as the BMI. I regularly rant about the BMI, so it is not a healthy standard that should be used for measuring someone's physical health, because it is based on a very small subset a very long time ago and was never meant to be used as a general or as a individual tool. It was meant to be used for general purposes, and even there it didn't really do the job. But a lot of doctors, especially in the US, base whether or not you qualify for something on the BMI and whether or not you meet that requirement. And there is no way that I can physically meet certain requirements of it because I have extremely dense bone and muscle, which the BMI does not account for. It only looks at height versus weight. It doesn't look at whether or not the person is an ectomorph, endomorph, mesomorph. It doesn't look at the person's actual physical health. It just looks at height, weight, and, in a lot of cases, gender or sex. So, the BMI, according to it, I should not weigh more than 120 pounds, which for me, and my doctor and I've talked about this more than once, would be like physically ill if I were that skinny, because I'm not built to be that skinny. I have never been meant to be that skinny. My body just isn't built like that. It's built to be a powerhouse, a very muscular form. Okay, going to show you guys what I've got so far. I hate how this camera washes out the colors, because you guys can't see that this is red, and this other side, this is red, the llama's pink. You can't see any of the colors. It's a real pain, because it's really cute, and I'd like it if you guys could see it. Okay. Eventually, I'm going to figure out why the camera gets washed out by me doing things, because it only does it with the camera that's attached to the computer. It doesn't do it with any external cameras that I attach. That's right, I have an external camera. I just got it in. I could very easily fix this problem right now. Give me just a minute. I'm going to put y'all on the Be Right Back tab. I will be with you in a moment.
Okay, so let me try something real quick. And I have many wonderful friends from Germany. Germany is a great country. Working this one ends up with throwing. Very strong, which is nice. And I might need to do, and I don't want to do, this does not want to recognize that command has new personal streaming now. Unless I want to jump on the phone now and restart it and go from there. But I don't really want to do that if I can help it. But yeah, I gotta go from webcam that I can use now for things like that. So now calling folks I don't have a place of it, which is nice. I haven't had that as an ability for a while. Just look at the ability. Perfect now. It washes everything out for the right in the skin. Oh well. Yeah, it's just not even good enough. That's fine. That is fine. This is yeah, it's just not recognizing that everything wrong. That's fine. It's a wonderful real quick. Oh, can you not hear me right now? No, not Henry right. Oh, I know one. It's because it's swapped the microphone over to this. Hold on. Testing, testing.
Testing, testing. I think that's the right one. There we go. Can you hear me now? It had swapped over to using a different microphone, so there we go. And I said by the way, oh, now we're getting a weird noise. Lovely. I'd been saying that I had a lot of really good friends in Germany. Cat hair. So I'd love to visit the country at some point. My mom and dad and my older sister have all been to Germany. I have not ever been out. I've never been to Europe. Let me phrase it that way. But I have great friends in Germany, and I would love to meet them at some point in person. Okay, so I've got the new camera set up. However, Twitch is not recognizing that camera. So I can't real quick just show you it from there. Believe me, I would if I could. However, it means that next week's stream will have that camera available when I do the next crafting stream. Really wish it would show it now. It's annoying that it won't. Let me try. I'm going to try one more time. Oh, I guess I want it pointing down at my laptop, not at me. Doesn't make sense for you guys to see me twice. Okay, let's try that again. Just double checking real quick if it'll recognize it now. Nope, still not recognizing it. Oh well. Okay. Let's see. The one other thing I could think to do. Hold on. I don't actually drink at all. I have never developed the taste for alcohol, and so for me it's just a non-issue. I just don't drink. I've tried it. I don't enjoy it. It just doesn't taste good. I know lots of people who really, really do like alcohol. I'm just not one of them. Okay. So, I'm going to do a little bit more coloring on this, and then I'll probably ending the stream. I was hoping for the stream to last at least an hour, because these crafting streams have been getting shorter and shorter, while the gaming streams have been getting longer and longer, and that doesn't feel quite right to me, because I want to have both a good mix of the two. But I did also, well, I didn't. My partner did promise to the kids that they would be getting ice cream today for helping, and then my partner went, I'm too tired after all that work to go out for ice cream, but y'all have fun. So I get to take them out to get ice cream, which, okay, that's doable, it's fine. I don't mind, especially because it means I get ice cream. But it does mean that I kind of have to cut the crafting stream a bit shorter than I wanted to, which is okay. I mean, life happens. Life is going to continue happening for a while, because, like, starting the new job, getting the training done for that, then hopefully we will be moving here in the next couple months. We need to replace the vehicle we're selling, because while, yes, one vehicle has worked for us for a while, that won't continue to work, especially if either my partner or I have to go back to the office. Yeah, I have heard this from my German friend who lives in Germany but spent some time living in the U.S. They were like, y'all's beer is nothing. It's water. And so, yeah, who knows, if I were to drink German beer, maybe I would finally get drunk. I have attempted to get drunk before, it just doesn't happen. I am, my genetic heritage, we'll phrase it that way. My genetic heritage is German, and I do seem to have a very limited ability to get drunk. It just doesn't happen. Oh, the fact that American beer is so weak is a meme over there in Germany. I'm not surprised. It deserves to be. I like I said, I don't drink, but if I did, it would probably take something pretty strong to do anything for me. I mean, I tried to get drunk several times at one point because you hear all these things about, oh, drinking's so great, it's so fun, I love getting drunk, yada yada yada, all these people, and I'm just like, never experienced it, don't know. So I tried because, my whole life I'd been told, oh, it's so amazing, you'll love it. Okay, well, tastes awful. But apparently I just can't get drunk on any of what we had available. Closest I ever got was tipsy, and that took, I want to say, 7 shots of vodka in under 30 minutes on an empty stomach. And yeah, it got me tipsy, and that was about it. And that was pretty much when I went, well, this isn't worth it. I did draw some things back in November that I never actually showed off on stream. So since my coloring isn't showing up on stream, I'm just going to show off these pictures I drew back in November. We have Big Bird and Cookie Monster. I was stuck on an airplane and discovered that I couldn't get to any of my crochet stuff, which I brought specifically so I could work on it on the plane. And then I realized, oh crud, I can't. Yeah, here you have to be 21 to drink and 16 to drive. Um, Also, you guys over in Germany have much, much harsher laws for anyone who attempts to drive while under the influence of alcohol. Here, it's a fine and a slap on the wrist. I believe you guys lose your license entirely if you're caught driving under the influence. Well, I'm out of things to show off. At least that's what I was always told. It's I don't know if it's first offense you lose the license, or you have to do like training and stuff. I also know it's a lot harder for you guys to get your license. It's a lot more expensive than it is here. Like here in here in America, getting your driver's license is fairly inexpensive, fairly quick. I mean, you need to make certain that you do driver's ed. Oh yeah, it's like, I think my driving test itself was $40, and the driver's ed that I took was actually part of classes at my school, so I never had to pay for driver's ed. But I believe that most driver's ed courses are $200 to $300 if you take them outside of a school. I can't guarantee that. Keep in mind, when I took driver's ed, it was, ooh, well, I was 16 and I'm almost 40 now. So it gives you a bit of an idea of how long ago that was. My kids are going to be needing to take driver's ed here in the next couple years. And I'm kind of like, I do not trust them behind the wheel. But one of the big differences that I've seen, and I talk to a lot of people who are from other countries, people who are in Germany, who are in England, who are in Scotland, who are in uh, Argentina, and a lot of those places have much better public transit systems. They have ways that you don't need a car just to get around. You can take a bus, take a subway, take a train. You can go places without a car. And some places here in the US, you can do that too. When I had my surgery, I had to go out to California and I stayed with a friend who lived there. And we drove twice the entire time that I was there. And one of those was to the hospital to get my surgery done, and the other was me driving to the airport super early in the morning to fly home because it was earlier than the transit systems were running. But otherwise, we took the subway or we took the bus, and we got everywhere we needed to go without needing to get in a car. But here where I live, we don't have a good bus system. We don't have a subway or trains at all. They're just not an option. And so, unless you want to spend an extra 2 to 3 hours taking one bus the opposite direction of where you need to go, then another bus back the right way, and spend, a lot of money to hop on the bus because it's pretty expensive to use the buses here too. But unless you want to do that, you need a car. And the city I'm in is not laid out in a way that makes walking an option either. They are getting better. They are putting in bike lanes in a lot of areas. So they're making it more friendly for people who are pedestrians. But there's still people who are driving in the bike lane because it used to be a regular lane. Why can't I drive in it now? There are very few people who respect people who are on bikes or on foot. There are people who will purposely try to hit you if you're on a bike or on foot. They'll try to swerve their car to hit you because they know they can get away with it and nothing's ever going to happen to them. And it's going to take a lot to get that kind of attitude changed in my area. And until it does, it makes anything but driving pretty difficult. It's not really a viable option for most people. What's wrong with us is the absolutely horrific sense of entitlement that so many people of a particular political bent in my area. No, you shouldn't drive over people, but there are people who'll do it. Especially if a lot of the people who are of a certain political bent here in America are of the opinion that anyone who is a pedestrian, okay, so either walking or riding a bike, is either too poor to own a car or is a crunchy granola eating hippie. And therefore, if the person is poor or is a hippie, they don't deserve to live, so it is perfectly okay to hit them with your car and kill them. That's just the attitude. And I'm sure being in Germany you've seen what happened with the previous U.S. president and the people that were following and backing him. It's a lot of those people that have that attitude because they have the idea. We have motorcycles here. We have quite a few. But we also have weather that is very conducive to making motorcycling a pleasant experience. There are people here who don't have a car at all, they only have motorcycles. And they don't suffer from the same stigma of, oh, if you're not in a car, you must be a hippie or too poor to own a car. They don't get that stigma because motorcycles are pretty dang expensive here. Um, so yeah, we have a lot of people who ride motorcycles here, but I mean, our weather is again very conducive to that. We've just had snow for the first time this winter, and it snowed on Wednesday, snowed on Thursday. By Friday, the streets were clear of snow because it had all melted off. Our front lawn's still covered in it, but that's our front lawn. And our front lawn is shaded by the fact that our faces north, and so front lawn's covered in snow still because it's not getting sun on it. But the streets are almost entirely clear of snow and have been since Friday, even though it snowed about 6 inches or 4 inches over 2 days. Huh. You only saw 10 bikes when you were in LA? When I was out... Okay, bike versus motorcycle. Better question there. Did you see 10 bikes or 10 motorcycles? Also, this depends on when you were over in Los Angeles. Because there were some years it was just not safe to be a pedestrian in Los Angeles because of the air quality. Okay, motorcycles. I don't know how motorcycles really fit in the California climate. I know here in Oklahoma, we have really, really mild weather generally. We mostly sunny days, not that much rain. We do get rain sometimes, but you know in advance when it's coming normally. So yeah, motorcycles are they're a perfectly viable option to use instead of a car. A lot of people don't because they're having to haul their kids, their dog, their family, groceries and stuff. But motorcycles, a lot of people have a car and a motorcycle. I know that my in-laws have had... They retired one of them because my mother-in-law reached a point where riding a motorcycle was not that comfortable for her, but they had 2 motorcycles and 2 cars for a long time. Because, they both had work and they had to get to work, and they would take the motorcycles or they would take the car depending on how they felt. But they had one of each, or they had 2 of each, so that they could each have their own motorcycle and they could each have their own car. Just the way it was. Growing up, my dad had a pickup truck, and my mom had a car. And the pickup truck was mostly used for hauling hay and cattle feed and things like that. Because again, I lived on a farm. I remember one point where we filled that entire bed of the pickup truck, which was a big truck. It was the one with the longer bed, not the little tiny short trucks you see sometimes. This was a big, full-bodied truck that was used for farm work and was actually used for what those trucks are meant for. But we filled that entire truck's bed with manure and drove it to our farm and then shoveled all that manure out onto our garden and spread it around and rototilled it in. That was a filthy, smelly job, but the garden did great because of it, so... But, we had the truck for heavy hauling, and when the weather was bad, we could use the truck because it was higher up off the ground. The cars were low, and the the road that led up to our house was a dirt road that was very muddy and would develop ruts whenever it rained, and so we needed that truck that could handle going over that. Um, but it's not uncommon for a household to have more than one car here. Um, I know that we are currently selling one of ours because we don't really use it that much. But we're going to have to get another one because if both my partner and I have to go back to working in an office instead of working from home, we're going to need that second vehicle. We have very different hours, and they're hours that don't overlap well. So it's not like, well, my partner can just drive me to work and I can drive, and then pick me up after. We tried that for a while. It didn't work too well. Oh, there's a system. The problem is that the system is it's different from state to state. And LA, since that's where you were, the highways that go through LA are very they're traveled by people from all over the US because it's a very popular place to go to. And so everybody from every state has their own separate way to drive, their separate system. And so all those people in LA are driving with completely different systems. Um, Here in Oklahoma, if you are a slower vehicle, you move to the right hand side of the road, people pass you on the left. If you're moving faster, you stick to that left lane unless you realize that you're now at a point where there's nobody you're going to have to pass. Move back into the right if that's the case. And also, speed limits are suggestions, they're not the rules. Generally, you go about 5 to 10 miles over. Try to stick around 5 if you're driving in Oklahoma, unless it is a small town that you're about to pass through. If you're passing through a small town, you go the speed limit because the small town cops get most of their funding from speeding tickets. And if they see a car that looks like one that's not from around there, they will absolutely target that driver and try to find any reason to pull him over and ticket him because they know most people from out of town aren't going to bother driving back to that town to contest it in court and will just mail them a check to pay the speeding ticket. So don't speed through small towns in Oklahoma. But if you're on the highway and you're in between towns, oh yeah, 5 to 10 miles over, that's normal. In trying to think of other states I've driven through, Arkansas and Missouri both have fairly similar rules to Oklahoma. It's, you pass on the left and you stick to the right if you're going slower. 5 to 10 miles over, the speed limit is normal. Their roads are a lot better. The Oklahoma roads are terrible. The highway patrol doesn't take very good, or not highway patrol, but the Department of Motor Vehicles handles all of the licensing and stuff. Department of Internal Affairs does. Who does handle? It is highway. It's just not the highway patrol. Let's see. 120 kilometers per hour. Give me a second. I have to do math. I don't do kilometers to miles in my head. That's about 74. I've done that. That's actual normal highway speeds here. So most of the highways have a 75 mile per hour speed limit. One of the ones here in town has just raised that to 80 miles per hour, which is nice because that's what I'd been driving anyway on them. The fastest I have driven a vehicle is, at one point I drove 120 miles per hour. and that was because of a very, very specific incident. I would not do that normally, but yeah, that was. I was driving that fast for a very important reason. Um, and was it dangerous? Probably. If I'd lost control of the vehicle, it could have been a very bad thing. But I also knew that stretch of roads were very straight, didn't have many curves that I couldn't see, and were largely unpopulated. So I felt safe in doing that. I just don't recommend it for most people. um, that said, I've actually managed an hour stream, even though I hadn't meant to. Didn't get as much done as I wanted to because I couldn't get my crochet done. Um, did get the coloring done, but couldn't show it off to you guys. I'll try to remember to show it off next week when I do the crafting stream. Now that I've got the other camera set up, I should be able to do that. For now, I do want to thank you so much for joining me for the stream. I had a lot of fun chatting with you, and I hope to see you again next week. My hours are kind of sporadic, but I always stream on Sundays, are the crafting stream, and Thursdays are my gaming stream. Given that you're over in Germany, it might actually be easier for you to make it to them because I tend to stream later at night for the US. So it's probably, y'all are about 8 hours difference, I want to say. 8? I think so. I can never remember where my friend is. It's 7:47 p.m. where I am right now. Let's put it that way. And this is around when I'm doing my gaming and crafting streams at the moment. That would be fun, driving a Ferrari. Alright, that said, I hope that you had a great time. I do want to thank you again for coming to the stream tonight. And, okay, so maybe it wouldn't be a normal time for you to be here. I do, again, thank you so much for coming out tonight. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your week. Take care of yourself, take care of each other's, and be safe out there.